Hey everyone, this is Isa, your host of the Bug Scope. Welcome to today's episode. Sorry it's a little bit later. I was uploading some videos for us to watch through the HAPS app, but then I don't know if I had it in the right format or something like that. So here we are. I hope you're able to still join. Hi Frank, good to see you there. Make sure you guys say hello in the comments when you tune in, and hope you guys are doing well. Hello Craig, hope you are well. So today we're going to dive and take a closer look at those snow bugs that I encountered this past weekend over when I was up in Michigan. And Lamaste, that's so creative. Thank you for the Lamaste award, Frank. I was just thinking about how with the yoga practice you say namaste and sometimes you put your hands up to your third eye. And I wonder if there could be some insect equivalent where you put your fingers on your three ocelli eyes right in the middle of your forehead. Hello, Kobe. Good to see you. Sideways mode is much better picture. Oh, great. Hello, Nade Labadens. Good to have you here. Meron, good to see you as well. Thanks for the super heart. Always fun to have super hearts. All right. Yeah, so I'm going to use the features that HAPS gives me, which are very exciting. Here on HAPS, I'm able to share photos, and I'm still working on the video part. I can also tell you now that we're going to have a special guest. We're going to talk about spiders with Sebastian, who was on the broadcast like a year and a half ago, maybe. We're going to welcome him back on, and one thing that will be fun about that is that he can show us some of he's going to show us his trapdoor spiders and some other of his menagerie of spiders that he has at his house, and talk about spider evolution. So pencil that into the February 18th slot for the Bug Scope. We also are going to have Autumn Angelis join us, which I'm really stoked about. I've been wanting her on the broadcast for like several years now. And I connected with her and she's going to join. We decided though that she'll come on later. Hi, David. Hi, Lee. Autumn's going to join us later when it gets warmer out, because that's when it's going to be, she'll be able to bring us out into the field with her. And that will be exciting and fun to talk about mosquitoes and those sorts of things. And hello, Samal, good to see you. Hello, James, how are you doing? Good. It looks like Frank is writing it in. So yes, take your pen or take your phone and jot in the date and press save and notification. Meron says, I need a 60-inch screen for HAPS. Oh, is it kind of, I know, I realize it comes off probably a bit small on Periscope, but hi Martin, good to see you. Yeah, so let's get to it then. So the story goes that when I was broadcasting this past Saturday from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, that broadcast was mostly like, hey guys, like, so kind of like a forest wandering broadcast. And Frank Mann asked if there were any insects that camouflaged with the snow. And to touch upon that again, not that I know of, but then I described how there are two other insects that are not the color of the snow. They're very dark, that you sometimes will encounter out walking across the snow. And then like a moment later, we came across that bug. We came across that insect, a winter snowfly, which is, I can add a notifier here. Create new notifier. I'll type in the, the wingless crane. How do I send it in? Push to program? Push to program. All right, it's going to go in the title up here. Yes, that's the name. Oops, that's the name. a winter wingless cranefly, and it was very exciting to find it just walking along. And so here's what it looked like. Oh, I have a somewhat zoomed in picture of it. Let's see how it shows up on the screen. There it is. And here it is in a defensive position. It did get all hunkered up and scrunched up its legs close to each other. This genus of insect, it's a type of fly that's wingless. I know it does not look that much like a fly. Interestingly, it kind of looks like some of the flies that are parasitic on like bats, and that's kind of interesting. Something I'll ponder more later. I just thought of that. Well, the first described species was called Chionea aranioides, which is a little hat tip to the way that they look a little spiderish as they're walking across the ground, because Araneae is the taxonomic name for the spider group in the family tree of life. So they called it Chionea aranioides. And that was one that very first species was described based on a specimen from Sweden. Hello, Pepe. Hope you're well. I have a couple more zoomed in images that I'll share with you guys too. I'll also take my face away so we can see it even bigger on the screen. And so this is a male. You can see its eyes in the front on the right side of the screen. Is that right for you guys too? This one's missing a leg, so it does only have 5 legs. It also has somewhat enlarged femurs. If you think of where a femur would be on a human, just look at it on its leg here, and that's sort of the same sort of location, perhaps, on the insect. And that's where the valga part comes from. Valga, that word, that second part of the species name. I'll type it in the chat. Chionea valga. The valga refers to that bowed, kind of enlarged femur, and that the males have. The females don't have this. I'll show you a female in one moment too. You can also see, oh, now I'm on this side. You can also see a lot of the male parts back there too. Very kind of, you can see all the segments on its body, and then you can also see those back kind of claspers, which a male will use to hold on to the female during mating. Thanks, David, for the appreciation. And yes, I don't know how it lost a leg, but somehow in its travels, maybe it got pinched somewhere. I do not know. Sometimes an insect will lose a leg because something is trying to eat it, and it'll much more favorably and willingly lose a leg and give it up to escape. Yeah. David says, interesting, that head would have made me think a wasp. Yeah. I see what you mean by that. And maybe it'll look a lot more like a spider to you if I show you a farther out view. So here's the female. I will take away the male now. You can see how it looks, has these long legs, and if only I had the video so I could show you guys it moving, but you can imagine it moving perhaps. And so from a distance, as it walks across slowly, I did get it moving in the last broadcast actually too. It has these long legs that are, you could say, perhaps spider-like. So the female here, I'll take my head away again so we can look closer, has a tapered abdomen. This is very common in the insect world. You'll find that the females tend to have more tapered, pointy abdomens. And that's because for egg laying. That's for egg laying. And thanks for the Supporting Women Award, David. So the males do have 6 legs. That one lost a leg. Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I don't know how delayed the comments are and all of that. But, the pictures behind me is what David's asking about now. We can do a brief touch upon that in a moment. Yeah, so one other thing to notice, and we can zoom in some more. So here, zooming in bit by bit. Here it is closer. And now we'll get even closer, where you can really see the detail. You can see the hairs on its body, which I'm guessing probably help it keep warm or just help with sensory And actually, that's kind of spider-like if you think about it. Spiders are covered in hairs. So that's, I don't know, I don't have any concrete information about that, but I'm just making that observation. You can see those two little circles on its back that are the halteres. And one thing that's interesting about those halteres, I thought, is how they're positioned like that. And I looked at this one other drawing that was from a publication back in 1907 of these, right here. And in this picture, that has the male on the left and the female on the right. And it also, you can see the female's halteres, those little nubs on the back that are folded back and sort of in the same position. Let me go back to the female though, zoomed in. All right. Yeah, so this is the winter snowfly, and one benefit for losing those wings is, one, when it's that cold, it is hard to use your wings. You need to warm up wings to use them and fly. So without the wings, there's more space in the body because you don't need thoracic muscles to move wings, and that supposedly makes more space for the eggs for the female here. And it's, yeah. There is an interesting texture on the eyes. You can see all those separate eye cells, or ommatidia, which other insects, unfortunately I can't zoom in within the picture, but other insects will sometimes have more smoothed eyes, and this one does not. Is that an ESA logo in the corner? Yes, it is. It's the ESA beta bug. Those are long, shapely legs, says Rich. Yes, long legs for walking across the snow. Does that mean the forewings have shrunk more than the hind wings? Yeah. Yeah. So, quick review for all who are not super familiar with Diptera in general is that Diptera, which is the fly group, the fly and insect group, has 2 wings only. So most flying insects have 2 pairs of wings, so 4 wings total. And with flies, di equals 2, ptera means winged. That's the order name for flies in the tree of life. And that hind pair of wings are modified into the little nubs for all flies that are called halteres. And those are used with flies for sensory, for helping with flight control. It's not totally, I'm not totally sure, and I don't think it's totally known how they're used in these flies since they don't fly, but they're probably used for sensory in other ways, especially if they're still present. So it's an interesting mystery. I don't think there's a lot known about that, at least to my knowledge. Hi, Peter. Good to see you. How's it going? So yeah, halteres. I just answered your question. Cool, Rich. There are a lot of hairs on those spider legs. Yeah. Yeah. So there's another insect that we encountered too, which I'll show you in one moment. And that, yeah. So, okay. So yeah, the story goes, I found this one male crane fly, the wingless one. And then I lost it during the broadcast, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm going to find another one. So I ended the broadcast over the weekend. And then I ended up finding 2 more of these crane flies, a male and a female. And I tried to mate them together because I learned by digging around a bit that they will somewhat indiscriminately mate. So some insects, if you put them together, they're not going to mate just because maybe the male doesn't have the right colors that the female likes, or there's just not that connection. The pheromones, receptors are just saying, nope, next, or something like that. There can be pickiness and choosiness. That's what gives us, for example, bright red cardinal birds, and because they're so bright and red like that, because the females like that, and that makes them more likely to find a mate successfully. So with these, though, it's been reported that they're not very choosy, and part of that is probably because it's hard for them to find each other in the snow and in the cold and without wings. And I tried to pair them together, but it just didn't work out. Like I found the one and then the other one was hidden, and then I like found the other one and then the other one was hidden. Then I was getting my phone set up so I could record the situation, and they both were gone, and it was just, and I think at that point the sun was setting and it was getting too cold. So the other thing is that I was really lucky about the timing of when I was up and hiking around in the snowy woods, because they are active between a certain temperature, which I think also contributes to their ability to find each other. The slimmer the window of the temperature that they'll accept helps them more synchronously exert energy to go and search for mates. So they're active between 0 and -4 degrees Celsius usually, and that's 32 degrees Fahrenheit to, or 24.8 degrees Fahrenheit to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And so last week when I was out, it was about 27 degrees. And then when the sun set, it started to drop, and they probably just hunkered down for the night. Here's a view of the area where I was looking at them as well. And if you look at where that branch goes into the ground, that's how I observed and noticed that they were, when they were running away from me and hiding and I lost them, they were looking and finding little crevices in the ground. So here, if we take a look, you can see that's the male that's hunkered down in that hole that's created by the wind blowing against that plant. So they'll go in burrows, crevices, soil cavities, subnivean spaces. Oh no, is the sound okay? When the winter is their time, what do they do in the summer? That's a great question, Frank. I don't even know. I don't know is my answer. Maybe they go through diapause in the summer. Maybe like how many insects go through diapause in the winter, which is basically insect hibernation, but it operates differently than mammals. Diapause is where there's a delayed or pause period of growth. They're not growing, they're not doing their behaviors, they're like rather dormant and pause, and their like hormones are not continuing on their cycle. For example, monarchs, they diapause in Mexico, the Eastern North American population does, and when they're in Mexico, they're not flirting with each other, they're not doing much, they're just chilling, for example. Are insects impervious to cold? So that leads me to what I wanted to talk about next. So I have this great book on insect structure and function by R.F. Chapman and edited by S.J. Simpson and Angela Douglas. Angela Douglas was one of my insect physiology teachers back during my undergrad. And we also used this book for that class, but a different edition. So I wanted to read this excerpt on surviving and being freeze tolerant. So glycerol and sorbitol are the most widely occurring cryoprotectants in insects, although other polyhydric alcohols and some sugars serve similar functions. These compounds, by adding to the pool of solute molecules, affect the osmotic pressure of the hemolymph, which is the insect blood. Hemolymph is the fancy entomology word for blood, for insect blood. And they help to regulate the cell volume during extracellular ice formation, when ice forms around the cells. And they also help to stabilize proteins. They are derived from glycogen stored in the fat body, and in many insects begin to accumulate at the onset of an overwintering period. Exposure to temperatures approaching 0 degrees Celsius is often the trigger for the production of cryoprotectants and ice nucleating compounds. So there's the big word heavy segment of today's BugScope broadcast. So that's how they are able to manage and not just freeze solid in the ice. Yeah. Hi, Al Saudi. Good to see you and have you here. Oh, after closing the scope, where can we find you, my friend? I'm over on Haps TV, and also you can connect with me on Instagram and Periscope. I'm sorry, Instagram and Twitter. But Haps TV is what's allowing me to broadcast over to Periscope right now. So come on over, please. And there's a link to Haps that you can use in the title of this broadcast that gets pushed to Periscope. All right. Hi, Asha. Good to see you. So Rich says, so only some insects have cryoprotectants. Yes, not all of them need cryoprotectants. Like you're probably not going to find them in insects that are tropical. But insects that are in temperate areas where the winter goes to freezing are areas where you will get where you will find cryoprotectants in insects. And that's something that helps protect the temperate areas of the world, the areas where we get freezing winters, from invasive species. It helps keep those species that are down in Florida from invading northward all the way up to Maine, for example. It helps protect insects that otherwise would establish from other countries potentially from establishing because the winter will kill them off. So, for example, my Madagascar hissing cockroaches, I don't have to worry about them escaping and getting established in the area here because they would never survive. They don't have cryoprotectants. They don't have glycerol in that they can release from their fat bodies into their hemolymph, into their blood to protect them and help them defend against the cold. They would just straight up freeze. They'd probably freeze before it got to freezing, honestly, because their temperature that they need is like 70 to 80 degrees and humid. So good to have you here, Asha. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So James is asking a little side note about the cicadas, which are coming out in 2021. That's right. There's going to be Brood X coming out, Brood 10 of the 17-year cicadas, which they last came out 17 years ago. So 2004, right? 2004? Yes. And so stay tuned if you're in the Eastern Coast area. A great source of information for the cicadas is magiscicada.com. It's a really great website and resource for keeping track of the broods of cicadas that are coming out year to year. Okay, Rich says, thanks for the super heart. Asha and David. Rich says, do some insects migrate when it gets cold too? Yeah, so that's another way that some insects deal with the cold is they just straight up avoid it. Who needs cryoprotectants, which is extra energy, when you can just fly away south or north, depending on if you're in the southern or northern hemisphere. Yep. A prime number of years ago. I'll do a whole other broadcast on those as the emergence times get closer. They're going to emerge in like May and maybe early June. So, okay, some other things I wanted to say. Oh yeah, so I have another bug that I also found in the snow. Here it is from a distance. This is a whole different order of insects. This is a whole different insect group. And you can see the difference just right away because, whoops, it has a different sort of face or a snout. A rostrum is what we'll call it. This is a Mecopteran, or I'll type this in the chat. A Mecopteran. And here I'll create a new notifier too. Or a snow scorpionfly. It's not an actual fly. It's like how a butterfly is a fly, for example. Okay. All right, I'm gonna make it so that this goes on the screen, the text. Okay. You can also see this is a female. You can see the pointy abdomen, and also it's stunningly shiny. I don't know why it's so shiny. I didn't even notice how shiny it was when I took this picture, but it looks totally gold plated. And I'll type also in the chat, Boreas SP. I didn't identify this to species, but what I did notice too, which is pretty fun, is that one resource that I'll use for checking up on what insect I encounter and also information about it is bugguide.net. That's a resource. Sorry, guys, it's a resource just for for the USA. But you can still, some insects are holarctic, so you'll find them in North America and the Northern Hemisphere over in Europe and Asia. So I don't know if this is one of them, but the earlier one that we were looking at, the Chionea, is found, you can find this in Europe too. So my European friends, keep an eye out on the snow for the other one, for this one, to be clear, so I'm very good at talking about things that are not on the screen. So you can see the ones that are like this over in Europe. So keep an eye out. But going back to this one, let's zoom in some more. Yeah, just zoom in all the way. Skip in between. There we go. Yeah, you can see really beautiful, shiny. You can see little scales even, or little hairs on its body. You can see the little tiny wing pads of what used to be wings. So this is not a fly. So it originally, other versions of a Mecopteran, they do have, oh, thanks for sharing that link, David. Hey, Ian, good to see you here. They do have like full-sized wings, other Mecopterans, other scorpionflies, and this one has little tiny nubby wings. For those of you on Periscope who haven't moved to HAPS, not only am I moving over to HAPS, but also I wanted to give a shout out that Ian, who's a fellow science communicator talking about neurology and other brain science topics, is moving over to HAPS as well. Same with Deanna, the cosmologists. So come on over if you haven't already, you guys, and make sure you find them too along with me. So this snowfly was also a really exciting find. When I first saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, another crane fly. But then I looked closer and it was not a crane fly. Then I have two other insects that I encountered. One is a close relative to the largest insect found on Antarctica, a chironomid or midge. It's not this one, the same species. Yep, woot woot, says Ian in the chat. That's right. Come on over to HAPS. Here it is zoomed in. And you can see it has really fuzzy antennae. These ones are commonly mistaken as mosquitoes. It's not a mosquito, though. It's a midge, very harmless to us. It's aquatic as a larva, and those little fuzzy antennae, which I think are super cute, are used to find and pick up on pheromones to find the females. So they're sexually dimorphic. The females, they're di meaning two, morphic meaning their morphology, and sexually meaning that the female does not have this, but the male does have these fuzzy antennae. And it also has some sort of wing interference. If you see the rainbow on its wing, that's also very unique. And unfortunately, that wing interference is, it is sometimes preserved even in the collection if it was collected and submitted. Hi, Gemma. How are you doing? We have something like that in winter here. Which one? The scorpion fly, David? Oh, and Frank is adding that their common name over here in Germany translates to beak flies. Cool, that makes a lot of sense. And that's referring to, let me go back to be clear, the scorpion flies, which do totally have this huge beak. Will you write the common name in the chat, Frank? I'm curious. Hello over in Dallas, Heavenly Dew, how's it going? Hello, everybody. Thanks, hello, Gemma. Okay, and then the last organism that I found when walking around the forest that day was before I do say the last one, these scorpion flies mate in a really unusual or unique way. So the one that we saw just a moment ago was a female that I photographed, and the male and the female mate in this really unique way. Here's a photo that is on bugguide.net, which David posted the link for. And you can see that the male is using its vestigial I'm blanking out on the word I'm looking for, modified or like non-functional for flying wings to hold the female's beak or rostrum in place as they mate. So it's a pretty unique mating scenario right here on the screen. It'd be really cool to encounter that sometime. So yeah, that is, yeah, it looks, yep. Ian says, oof, looks comfortable, maybe? I don't know. I guess it works for them though, since they've been doing it for thousands of years. Okay, and then the last organism I found was, oh, thank you, David, for sharing my Patreon to support sharing my discoveries and sharing entomology and making it more accessible and all of that. The last encounter was this spider, which is a male spider. Male spiders have those enlarged, see those little ball-like things on the front of its face, right below its leg? That is the pedipalp, and the pedipalp is a bit swollen, which suggests that this is a male spider, because that's where some of the sex organs are. And this, I don't think it really wanted to be on the ice, unlike all the other organisms I encountered, unlike the Mecopter and the scorpionfly, and unlike the midge. This one looked a lot slower, but I don't really know. Like maybe it did know what it was doing. It wasn't lost, but maybe it had fallen as well. Not sure. I didn't hang around too much to look because I was looking for more of the wingless crane flies. And then I also encountered, last part of the encounters is this nest here. And this nest is a abandoned paper wasp nest of some kind, and it's a reminder that wasps, they do not stay all winter in their nest. They will go home. The workers will die off, and then the queen will go. And so the queen of this nest was probably sleeping under the snow somewhere in that very snowy forest, safe and in diapause, or hibernation, but diapause for entomology. So yeah, that is a little recap of those winter bugs. If you have any questions, let me know. Rich says, interesting that the Periscope comments show up on Haps, but the Haps comments don't show up on Periscope. Yeah, that's one reason why I try to read out all the comments to help bridge that gap. But yes, it's interesting and very good to note. Yeah. Gemma says, every time I come on your show, every time I come on, you show spiders. Cue the spiders. I need to overcome my fear. Is there something particular about spiders that you don't like, Gemma, or is it just like an overall thing? And a heads up, I think I said this in the beginning, and I don't think you were there yet, is that on the 18th of February, it will be spider themed. I'm bringing on my friend, Sebastian, who was on the broadcast about a year and a half ago in person at the museum in Philadelphia. This time it's going to be through Haps, and he's going to share some of his spiders, like a trapdoor spider that he has in his, that he keeps as a pet. We're going to talk about spider evolution. He's actually now a doctor. He was not a doctor when we had him on the broadcast last time. So that's an exciting advancement since last time we spoke with him. Looking forward to having him on. I also watched his PhD dissertation defense, which was really, really good, on the communication within jumping spiders and their like eyesight as well. So really excited to have him on. Also, once again, for those who missed it, I will be bringing on Autumn Angelis to talk about mosquitoes. And it might be hard to believe, but Autumn loves mosquitoes. People who study mosquitoes, they love them. And while a lot of the rest of the world does not love them, to say the least. But perhaps after you join us for that broadcast with her, which isn't going to happen until April or May when it warms up and the mosquitoes are starting to come out again, maybe when you join us, you will find a little love in your heart for mosquitoes too. So, all right, to answer thank you for the super clap. Gemma says, I'm absolutely terrified of spiders. I have tried so bad to overcome the fear. It's just something in general, totally terrified of them. I will show you the pics I have of my son holding bugs. Would be good if you can tell me what they are called, if that's okay. Yeah, please send them along. And I remember you saying in a previous broadcast that you are trying not to pass on your fear to your kid. And I think that's so wonderful. And it's really great. And I super admire how aware you are of that and how self-aware you are and how I think that's really beautiful, and I thank you so much for that. Yeah. But yeah, please send me those pictures and be happy to see. Frank says, gotta ask Sebastian then all about jumping spider communication. So cool. Yeah, and I'll make sure he knows about the ability to have pictures up on HAPS. He's also a photographer, macro photographer, and has taken some really stunning images of spiders. Rich says, as Reinfeld says on Dracula, who wants spiders when you can get a nice... Wait, who wants flies when you can get a nice, juicy spider? Ooh, not familiar with that quote. Cool. All right, so... Oh, and Gemma is saying now, I see the comment. Absolutely, I don't want him to be afraid of anything because of me. I know the fear is irrational, really, and don't want it to rub off on him. Yeah, thank you. That's very wonderful of you. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go now, but thanks guys for joining today. And hello, Yassine. Hello and goodbye, Yassine. Signing off now, but thanks guys for joining. If you have any lingering questions, feel free to post them in the chat. And I will post a couple of these photos here on my feed on HAPS for if you want to check them out again. Once again, Bug Guide is a great resource, and Bugguide.net, this website that's a great resource for identification in North America, has maps of where different records of insects are found, and they don't have a record for Michigan. It's state by state. They don't have a record for Michigan on there of this one, the scorpionfly. So I'm going to post it on there too to add that record. So looking forward to that, contributing that. Okay. Bye guys. See you next time. Thanks for joining, Martin. Good to see you. And James and David and Rich. Thanks you guys for your questions. We do need insects in our world, James. I'm glad that you are aware and preaching that and sharing that and saying it out loud. Thanks, Frank. Bye, Seem. Bye, Ja. Bye, Gemma and Lee and anybody else who's here that I'm not sure is here because I can't really see who's in the room unless you comment. So bye, everyone. Take care. Bug love. And cheers. All right.